Hello everyone, in this video I want to show you how I've been using the AI assistant to help me generate the YAML for some workflows to help me in my work. For a bit of context, I've been working on implementing the workflow health feature, which is available on screen right now as these weather icons that show up next to the names of workflows. And we can see here on this page that I have a lot of green workflows with 100% health. And for my testing, I needed some tests that were flaky, that failed randomly, so I can see different versions of that health. And I went to the AI assistant to help me with this because I wanted some quick solutions, and I wanted maybe to have multiple workflows, but I'll focus on one example now. And I want to focus more on the thought process and how I've been using the assistant to get to the final result, because maybe I didn't have the entire context, or I want to show how you can use it if you don't know everything about Testkube, or you know some pieces but want to dive deeper into others, and maybe you need some more help and you need to gather some more context. So let's say my first requirement was that I want to run this with a single YAML. I don't want to write another test in another language on a GitHub repository and have to check out and take more time for this test. So the first question I want to ask the AI, or the first task I want to give it, I want it to look into whether I can write the content of my Node.js test file directly into the YAML of a workflow. And I'll paste what I just said right now in the chat. So let's see what it will do in this case. It will look through the documentation very fast for this one, but it will say that yes, I can include, and I mentioned Node.js because it's a language that I'm familiar with and I want to be able to edit the code if I need to. So it says me that we can embed the files directly using the content field in the YAML. So that's interesting. Now I could maybe ask follow-up questions and go through examples or learn the feature myself more, but we can also just, let's try it and give it now a task to to start writing the workflow for us. And what I want to ask it to do now is write the YAML for a workflow that fails randomly, use Node.js, and write the code of the test as an inline content file. So now we know about those, and we want that specifically used. And I also have a requirement here. I wanted to use a demo prefix in the workflow name, so I can just copy it after it generates it, and then we can actually run it in the background until to test and see how it works. So now it will again craft the YAML configuration, look through examples if needed, but now it also had context. And let's see what it does. The name, we can see it has the demo prefix correctly, and we can see it uses the spec content files. The syntax looks correctly. It creates a new file, random fail test, and here is the content written in Node.js. It just generates a random number with met.random, and it either passes or fails the tests based on that random number. And then we can see it sets up the image working there, and then in the step it runs the code. So now I could maybe in the meantime import this and create it and run it. And then until it runs, we'll see if it randomly passes or fails, but we can continue the conversation, because let's say I want this to be easier to test. I will not know when it passes or fails. Maybe I want to force a result. So then can we maybe ask the AI to add an environment variable to this? Let's say I don't know where to add it or how to add it. So I just want the AI to help me with this as well. I want to add an environment variable called forced results to the step, and then update the Node.js code to use it for forcing a specific result. Let's see then what it does. It should now probably add the environment variable somewhere in the step, but let's assume we don't know and we really want to see what the AI does. Okay, let's see. I can immediately notice it uses the process env here for Node.js, and it reads the environment variable. And then if we scroll down, we can see here in the step, it used the container, it set the image now in the step, and then it set an environment variable with a default value for now, and we can pass or fail as strings. And I think, yeah, it explains this to us as well. So this is pretty nice. We can copy this. So in this case, our workflow was successful from the previous run, but we can go now to the definition, and I'll just update the entire code. and save and run it again. But for this example, I will set it to fail because the first one was successful. Let's try with the fail version to make sure that works. So I'll save and run. It was updated successfully, and now the execution will run, but I'll close this. We can go back to the overview. And in the meantime, I want to proceed maybe with something else. I feel like having to write the value of pass or file directly in the YAML definition and then have to update the workflow YAML is not ideal. I want to ask it if maybe Testkube has some feature that allows me to pass that value from the UI somewhere. So let's see what it would do if we ask it, can you look into whether Testkube lets you pass runtime values through the workflow spec? And now let's see what it does. Yes, Testkube allows you to pass the runtime and you can parameterize. And it also went ahead and did it for me. So we can see here with spec.config, it introduced a force result of type string with an empty string as default. Then if we pass, if we scroll down, we can see that in the env, now the first result gets the value from the config. And so it actually went ahead. It knew from the entire conversation context that that's what I'm gonna probably ask next. And it gave me the updated workflow YAML, which I'll want to finally test. We can see the previous execution was failed as expected because we manually set the environment variable to failed. But now if we go back, update it, save and run, and we should see, yeah, we see the first result parameter here. I will set this as pass and I will run it. And now if we go back to the test, I also want to run it again right now and say that this one, I want this to fail, and let's wait a couple of seconds for these two executions to be complete, and we should see one that succeeded, the previous one, the third execution, and then the fourth execution should actually fail. So this is one way I've been using the Copilot. It really works best when you ask some questions, build a bit of context, and try to learn about the Testkube features as at the same time as Copilot also guides you with that and gives you context, and then you can collaborate with it to get to the desired results. And we can see that the latest result, the fourth execution, actually failed as expected. So this is one example as how I've been using the AI assistant to craft workflow YAML code.